Hi, in this section, we're going to set up the FPS projects. The purpose of this section is to show you how to set up your first-person shooter projects. And by the end of this section of the video tutorial, you'll be able to set up a new project, open your project in Visual Studio, add log messaging to your project, compile your first C++ class, set up the default game mode. And this is what you will see at the end of this section. During this step, we are going to create a starting point for our first-person shooter FPS game by using Unreal Engine 4's project browser. After opening Unreal Engine from the Epic launchers, you will see a project browser. The project browser will appear. Yeah, like this. And click on the New Projects tab and then select the C++ tab. Now select the Basic Code Projects. Name your project as FPS project, making sure no starter contents is set. So after you've named your project, go ahead and click the Create Projects button. Yeah, it'll take time. So at this point, your project is open in the Unreal editor. And this is a good time to click the play button to enter play in editor PIE mode. Use the WASD keys to move around the level while using your mouse to aim the camera. And press the escape key for click the stop button in the level editor to exit PIE mode. Now that you're done exploring the level, go ahead and create a map folder within the content folder. Before that, you need to click this one and you'll see the content folder. So right click and click the new folder and name as maps. And in the file menu, select Save As. To save your level as FPS map within the map folder. And from the Edit menu, click on Project Settings. And under the Project heading, on the left side of the Project Settings tab, click on Maps and Modes. Using the drop-down menu, select FPS as the editor starter map. Here. From now on, the editor will automatically load FPS map as the default map. Finally, close the project setting menu and save your projects before moving on to the next step. When we set up our basic code project in the previous step, Unreal Engine created a game mode for us. Game modes define the game's rules and win conditions. Our game mode also sets default classes that will be used for some basic gameplay framework types, including pawn, player controller, and HUD. During this step, we're going to use the editor to open our solution in Visual Studio so that we can view our project's game mode class. So in the File menu, select Open Visual Studio to open your C++ code in the Visual Studio. After Visual Studio opens up your C++ code, you should be able to see the C++ header. See the C++ and header files inside the Visual Studio Solutions. By now, you should have the following code inside of the FPS project's game mode base, that's CPP, and also the FPS project game mode base.h. Now that you've opened your C++ project in Visual Studio, you're ready to start adding code to the project. A great way to start adding code to our project is by adding a log message to FPS game mode base. Log messages are really useful for verifying and debugging code during development. During this step, we'll use a log message to verify that we are actually using FPS game mode base rather than the default game mode provided to us by Unreal Engine. So double-click the FPS project game mode base.h to open the header file for your FPS game mode base classes. In Unreal Engine 4.15.3 is compared with the Unreal Engine official document tutorial. You need to modify you need to change the FPS game mode to FPS game mode base. Maybe it's based on the version is updated. Okay, so you see there your class declaration should be look like this following. So add the following function declaration under the FPS project game mode base constructor declaration. So virtual void start play and override. This function declaration allows you to override the start play function inherited from the actor class so that you can print a log message to the screen when gameplay begins. So yeah, this is the FPS project game mode base.h, and save your header file in Visual Studio. Now go to the FPS project game mode base.c++. Add the following lines of code for the start play function below the FPS project game mode base constructor. Void FPS project game mode base start play. Super start play. If G engine display a debug message for 5 seconds. The -1 key value. It should be first argument. Indicates that we will never need to update or refresh this message. G-engine add on screen debug message -1 5.4 F color should be, the message color should be yellow. You can change the message color to any colors, and the message should be hello world. This is really familiar message, right? Oh, this is typo. Hello world, and this is FPS game mode base, maybe. Okay, so start play function will now print a new debug message. Hello world, this is FPS game mode base, to the screen in yellow text for 5 seconds when gameplay begins. So, oh, it's yellow, right? So save your C+ file in Visual Studio. Now, this is a good time to compile our project so that we can see our code changes reflected in game. So going back to the editor, click the compile button to compile your code. Since you started developing your project as a C++ project, you are able to compile your C++ code directly from the Unreal editor. Go ahead and click the play button to enter play in editor PIE mode. You might be wondering why your log message isn't being displayed on screen when you are in PIE mode. The reason you are not seeing your log message is because the editor is still using the default game mode at this stage in development. Press the escape key or click the stop button in the level editor to exit PIE mode. So now is a good time to expand the C++ game mode class to blueprints. Please feel free to go to the C++ and blueprint reference page to learn more about extending C++ classes to blueprints. So first, create a blueprints folder inside of the content folder. Now, right-click the FPS project game mode base class to open the C++ class action menu, and click create blueprints. Blueprint class based on FPS project game mode base to open the add blueprint class dialog menu. Name your new blueprint class as BP _ FPS project game mode base, and choose the blueprint folder before clicking the create blueprint class button. By now, you should have a newly created BP _ FPS project game mode base blueprint class located inside the blueprint folder in here. Make sure to save your blueprint FPS project game mode base blueprint before closing the blueprint editor. Oh, I already closed, but yeah, you can save it. Okay. Now that we've successfully extended our newly modified game mode base to blueprints, we'll need to set our project to use BP _ FPS project game mode base as the default game mode in this step. So in the edit menu, click on the project setting. Under the project heading on the left side of the project settings tab, click on the map and modes, and Select the BP underbar FPS game mode base in the default game mode drop-down menu. Close the project settings menu. Now click on the play button in the level editor toolbar, and you will see hello world, this is FPS game mode base. Should now be displayed in yellow text for 5 seconds in the upper left hand corner of your viewport. So press escape key or click the stop button in the level editor to exit play in editor PIE mode. So this is congratulations, you've okay, this is the first section of the first person shooter, and you based on this section you've learned how to set up a new project, open your project in Visual Studio, add log messaging to your project, compile your first C++ class, set a default game mode. You are now ready to learn how to implement your character in the next section. And see you next.